Hey everyone, we're back in another video. Rachel is here, yay! And in my last video I mentioned that the next video we were going to be talking about backstage at Disney World. I have gotten so many questions in the comments about backstage. What I think somebody asked like what I think about all of the backstage areas of the park, and Rachel is here, so I feel like it'll just make the video that much better because we're going to have it like two perspectives and memories to recall on. So I guess, did you want to say anything before we get started?
No, yeah, nothing, no exciting announcement this time like last time. I'm just, as always, happy to be here.
Yay! Okay, so I guess we'll start with like the most popular park at Disney World, Magic Kingdom, Backstage. Wow. So I guess one question I have for you, Rachel, about Backstage, do you remember the first time, like were you even nervous to go backstage? Do you remember the first time seeing Backstage? Did you know that there were underground tunnels?
Uh, totally, yes. The underground tunnels, again, like we talked about in the last video, it's like for Disney people, that's not really a secret, but still it's like this, just the unknown about it is, there's something about that you just want to know what it's like. And I remember feeling so intimidated and just like, I mean, I'm not one for directions anyway. I get lost very easily. So for me, that was just really, really overwhelming. Like, I wish I could have, like, you know how you're like, if you, when you're going to school, like middle school or high school, like they somehow sometimes have tours like before, so you could get used to it. I wish I could have won on a tour.
Dude,
Because
why
I
didn't
always,
they give us maps? Like
I
per
know,
break
that's what I
room?
mean. I mean, maybe things have changed, I don't know, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I wish I would have had the opportunity to just like learn my way around before getting kind of thrown in there. Now, I do feel like I knew my way around the entertainment base, which is where you would go in the tunnel, where our section was, where you would go and where I would get my schedule and where you would have your warm-ups. And then, of course, where costuming and cosmetology is. So I was very comfortable. I'm sorry?
Because during training they train you on that. Like they showed
Yes.
that. I felt like they made you familiar with the character base. We were in Disney Entertainment for those new to the channel. But yeah, I do specifically remember like them teaching you how to scan out your
Yeah. Yeah, so that was like step-by-step process. So I felt very comfortable when I was in the entertainment base. Anything outside of that was, again, very overwhelming. I felt very nervous. And for me, I was part-time in entertainment, so I was only there 2 days a week. So I was, and I've said this before, but so I was never given a bid. I didn't go to the same place every day, and I was put at the fair a lot. So if Snow White was unavailable at Cinderella's royal table, then I would, show up that day, not knowing that that's where I was going to be. So I was a lot of different characters a lot of the time. If Snow White was everywhere she needed to be, then I would be pulled for fur. So I was often in locations that I wasn't familiar with, and that's what I mean. I wouldn't know where to go or what to do, and I didn't have a lot of friends there. I mean, we didn't have social media. It wasn't like, hey, are you working this place too? Like, can I meet you down here and we can walk there together? I mean, I guess I could go up, to someone and say that, but it's just like communication wasn't like it is now, as far as maybe having someone to help me get to where I need to be. So yeah, in the very beginning, very overwhelming for me. Where am I going? What am I doing? But when I was in the entertainment base, I felt very good and it was fun.
Can I say like one of my first days? It was well, I remember that I don't remember so much. Wow, I don't remember so much about my first day as a fur character, like actually having to go find my break room. I like my memory is of shifts. One of my first scheduled shifts was Princess Jasmine, the Halloween Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party. And I remember being, like you say, knowing your way around the character base, like to get your costume and everything. And so I was already like transformed into Princess Jasmine. And I felt like because I was already in Jasmine garb, when I asked somebody for, like, I think I said, I don't even know where my break room is. And somebody
Right.
grabbed me by the arm right away, linked arms with me, and was like, I'm taking you to your break room to show
Oh,
me where I needed to go. Now, did you, so because were you in Snow White garb when you were like, did some, because I kind of feel like had I not been in the Jasmine costume,
Right,
I would have been lost. Like nobody would have helped me.
right. And bless that person for doing that. And I think that's a message to all of us. If you ever see someone who looks lost or needs help and you know what you're doing anywhere, like in life, you be that person to go help them. Yes. Well, obviously, we've said this many times that you are treated differently even if you're not in full costume, if you're in your, bloomers and smock and wig, people are going to treat you differently. I guess in my mind, I probably wanted to look like I knew what I was doing. Like I was younger and I like didn't want to feel stupid. I wanted to look like I belonged, so I didn't like look like help me, which I probably should have. Like now I would have been like, can you please help me? But back then it's like I didn't want to feel stupid. I wanted to feel like I know what I'm doing. So yeah, I'm trying to think. I don't remember the very first time because I think I did know where I was going. But yeah, it was a lot. It was overwhelming.
Yeah, I guess I played the damsel in distress card. I didn't mind, which is shameful because Jasmine wasn't a damsel in distress per se. I don't,
Mm-hmm. And I remember the most time with Snow White was usually in the Magic Kingdom. You first walk in into the park. So I was by myself. So it's not even like I had where if I was like in a dining and there were other princesses getting ready with me that I could just walk with them. You know what I mean? Like we were all getting ready at the same time. Like maybe that would have been easier. But I remember my first few times, it was just me by myself. It wasn't even with Dopey. So that's what I mean. I think if I would have had someone with me, it might have made things a little bit easier. But it was just me. Now, did you get ready with Aladdin your first couple times? Okay.
That day, and like I think I said this in a previous video where I talk about princes, or we did. I think we did that video together actually. Mm-hmm. That the Aladdins would just go straight to the break. Like I don't think they really wanted to sit in the makeup room with the princesses getting ready. Right. Some of them did. But most I would say didn't. Like they did wear makeup, so. But they would go to the break room where we would hang out between sets and get ready there because they had all the lights and everything. So I remember the particular Aladdin that I had initially that I worked with a lot. He would get ready in the break so I never would see him. So I just remember that the shock of seeing, because I hadn't seen Aladdin like since I was like 17 years old in Magic Kingdom, so it had been years. But to see. And I didn't know him personally. I just saw him in full costume. I remember getting like, it's Aladdin, like.
Yes. Yes. Now, did you feel that way? Like, since we're talking about the beginning of everything, when you first went to your first set in your first break room, were there other characters there? Was it like a wow moment for you when you saw, other costumes there, knowing who was going to be with you, or just like what the break room looked like? What were your first thoughts when you walked into the break room? And
that shift, it was really dark. It was nighttime because it was the Mickey's Not So Scary.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And the break room, ironically, do you remember where Aladdin, where he's singing that song, they'll find out there's so much more to me. Yeah, that, how it's like really dark and it's nighttime and he's like, someday, Abu, we're gonna live. Like how there was like cloths like hanging down. It was kind of like a, how would you describe it? Like a tattered looking room. That's exactly how that break room was. It was the Agrabah break room. I don't know if it still looks like that today, but it was like a backstock room. But they had like an Arabic type carpet on the ground. It was like stone floor kind of thing, not like stones, but like a concrete floor. It was just really dark in there. The only light were the lights from the bulbs around the mirror. Yeah, so they ended up giving us a different break room that was much more bright later, so I didn't really get to spend a lot of time in that break room.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I don't remember the genie being, I think I just locked in on Aladdin like, oh my word, I'm going to be working with this dude, and I have to hold his hand? What? Like...
So funny. Now, in between sets, like moving forward and you're comfortable with everything now, what did you do in your off time like offset when you were in the break room? Because it's so funny. Like now I can just imagine people sitting around scrolling through Instagram, but like again, that wasn't available
Nobody
when
had their phone.
we were
You only had a phone because you were going to make a call. You weren't taking pictures because
exactly.
the picture quality on phones was very poor. You brought your digital camera. You wanted
There
good.
were or excuse me, camera phones back then. But yeah, not everyone had one. It wasn't like, it wasn't a big deal if you didn't have one. They were still the flip phone. I think MySpace was happening when
MySpace.
MySpace was the first social media that, got really popular. But again, that was like on your computer, your PC. So it's like when I think of people in their break room now, they're probably just like reading their emails or like doing things like you don't even have to talk to anyone. You could just like sit there. So I'm trying to think like what I did in that time. There was always like a movie going. I remember like the break rooms that had the TVs, there was always a movie going. But for me, that time just went really fast, but I don't remember exactly like what I did.
Yeah,
But
I
do you
mean,
remember
I
what you
remember
did?
a lot of talking. I had awesome
Yeah.
greeters.
Yeah.
Like my memories of Magic Kingdom are amazing greeters. Tabitha, who I still follow on Instagram.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, amazing greeters. And then, I mean, like I said, I wasn't in that one particular break room that long. We moved to another one. We were surrounded by other break rooms. There was above Liberty Tree. Did you ever have to go above Liberty Tree, the restaurant? Okay, so above Liberty Tree Tavern, like that restaurant, there. I don't know if they're still there, but there were a ton of break rooms, or a ton. There was like a handful of break rooms, but they were always chock full of people. Like for Pocahontas characters were in one room, Aladdin characters in another, the Chippendale in another, and among just other random people. And so you could go mingle in another break room. One Aladdin in particular especially was very social.
Okay, that's neat.
Like I think he hated being just in the face character room. He wanted to be with fur characters, like go out of his way to, because I think he knew the stigma and he hated that, like the separation of the classes.
Can you please go over there, please? Thank you very much. Whatever happened to the separation of the classes?
King Julian says never mind. But anyway, yeah, the Backstage Magic Kingdom, it wasn't just in the tunnels. You could go up and down, like the elevators, and break rooms could be up above ground. And I loved that being up above and looking out of random windows or being on rooftops, because on Liberty Tree there was also a rooftop terrace where you could peek out at guests. They couldn't see you, but you could see them, kind of thing.
Oh, neat. Oh, I've never been there. I didn't even know that existed. That's cool. I
You
like
could
that.
even go pretty far on rooftops, like around, like all the way down to, like, I want to say near where the Aladdin carpet rides were. Like just walking around up there, they made it easily accessible for I don't know, backstage people, random workers. I don't know, but I never did. It was always scary. Like you didn't want to be seen. But I always thought about celebrities because you had the most awesome view for fireworks at night if you needed it.
Do you know who? I'm so sorry to interrupt you, but that reminds me. Did you see who is Candlelight Processional this year? John Stamos again.
I'm so happy. I was wondering about that. My sister.
Yes, yes. So
Go ahead.
Of celebrities, he's our favorite Disney celebrity.
No, I know you tagged me in something recently.
I think that might have been it. I think that was probably it.
Oh, was it? No.
I don't know. Was it? I don't know.
It was something really heartwarming.
We get off topic. Getting back to the break room, do you have like a favorite story or anything that happened in the break room? I have one when I was thinking about this.
Tell me yours first, so I can think.
So did you guys do this? Like whenever you went into your break room, if it was a group of people, you would write your name and then the character's name on the wall?
No, but that's so smart. We should have done that.
Yeah. So a couple places I went, people did that. And so I've mentioned before, I had my best friend at the time was a character manager, and she knew where I was working this one day. And she said, "Oh, my friend Steven's going to be there. He's Pan, introduce yourself. He's a really good friend of mine." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, great." So I look on this board and there's no Steve, and I'm like, "Oh, she must have been mistaken." And then Like later on, she's like, yeah, he was definitely there. And he wrote Esteban, like, like as like a joke. I don't know. But as you know what that name is. So I felt so stupid. Like I didn't connect those like that. Oh, like that, Steve. So anytime like I felt confused from then on, I'd be like, I'm having an Esteban moment. Sorry. It's probably like funnier in my mind than it actually is.
No, that's
like
hilarious.
Yeah, and then there was another time where I forget his name, but he was just like big personality, and he walked into the break room one day, and he comes up to me and he's like, "Hey, girl, hey," and I'm just like, "Hey." And so that turned into another thing that we did with each other. Would be like, "Hey, girl, hey," and then it turned into like HGH. So funny things actually like turned into funny side comments with me and my friends. But that was like the funniest memory for me, like having that Esteban moment. But
man, I guess I don't really have like super funny moments like that. I think I had done like my funniest memories video, and I mentioned something about jumping on the sofas and throwing like some sticky ball that would stick to the mirror, throwing it. It was really stupid, like, but we were having a blast doing it. I don't know, we were like 2-year-olds throwing it at the glass mirror and like that kind of stuff. I remember just cracking up with whoever was in, like, over, I think I mentioned like one of the Aladdins, we were watching SNL or some Mad TV or something, like stuff like that, like. But I guess I remember like the dramas too. Like I remember one of the Jasmines was dating a character manager, an entertainment manager, and I don't know if that was allowed. If you were allowed to date your manager, I don't recall what the rules were, but I think it was like either it wasn't allowed or they didn't want people knowing that they were dating. And so I remember he was this super like cute manager, and so I remember thinking like, oh, they'll make such a cute couple, and it didn't work out in the end. But I remember him coming into the break room and like knowing that something was, because she had confided in me about it, like knowing that there was something going on, but like in front of everybody else, they would just like kind of make eyes, and that, I don't know, it was like an exciting time. I was excited for them, and then I was bummed to see that it fizzled out. But
I was thinking another thing about Backstage that is probably like so different now. When I started in 2007, like the paper, like the hub was just like being created. Now, so you did it, you were in entertainment way before me. Like, do you remember like the paper, like when you had to request off, everything was done still on paper? Doesn't that seem like such a foreign concept now? I'm sure people, if they're cast members now and they're thinking like to put in any request that has nothing to do with the computer. I was just thinking about how different that process is now and how many things have probably changed and schedules and all that kind of stuff.
Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Stay tuned for part 2. I didn't realize that this video was so long, so I decided halfway through editing it, I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to divide this into 2 videos because this is way too much to edit. I hope everyone's having a great holiday season, and stay tuned on my channel, subscribe, like, all that good stuff, and I hope to see you guys really soon in the future. All right, bye-bye.